Welcome back, everyone, to Red Spotlight Entertainment Podcast. I'm Alexis, joined by Peter and David Francisco, of course, for the show that brings you everything coming out of the world of movies and more. This is going to be Red Spotlight number 504, where we delve into Thunderbolts, some Sinners, and a little bit of Revenge of the Sith, and Sith and Sinners, and Thunderbolts, and also what else may be happening in the world of movies and go. Here we are, everybody. Last couple of weeks, we've been getting a little political, I guess you could say here. And, there would be some idiots in the world that would have been, trying to sell you the idea that, why are you trying to always infuse Donald Trump into it? He has nothing to do with the world of...
I agree.
Well, something happened in, we had a whole talk about Tariffgate, and evidently... even though the White House has predictably put out a pussyfooting backtracking statement, of which there will be no clarity because we're living in an era where you never really are sure of what tariffs are in place or not. If it's Tuesday, maybe they are. If it's Wednesday, they never existed. If it's Thursday, what are you talking about? They've always been there in the first place. So, over the course of this past weekend, a lot of people got a taste for what it is to think that a idiotic monster could be controlled under any situation whatsoever. I direct you over to Grace Randolph, who tweets, "It seems Hollywood's plan to get Trump to create a federal tax incentive for filming in America has backfired. Instead, Trump has put a 100% tariff on any film produced outside the U.S., including Hollywood's. Isn't Avengers Doomsday filming in London? That doubles the budget? ? So this is in reference to this announcement made by the president saying, "The movie industry in America is dying a very fast death. Other countries are offering all sorts of incentives to draw our filmmakers and studios away from the United States. Hollywood and many other areas within the USA are being devastated. This is a concentrated effort by other nations and, therefore, a national security threat. It is, in addition to everything else, messaging and propaganda. Therefore, I am authorizing the Department of Commerce and the U.S. Trade Representative to immediately begin the process of instituting a 100% tariff on any and all movies coming into our country that are produced in foreign lands. We want movies made in America again."
It's
Oh, sorry, real quick. And then a reporter had asked him that very day, what about the movie tariffs? And his response was, this is actually him speaking, "Other nations have been stealing the movies, the movie-making capabilities from the U.S. I've done some very strong research over the past week, and we're making very few movies now."
I don't think that's true.
That's not really true, but
we're not making fewer movies. Again, he's just so broad and so stupid. I think this is how he succeeds. He speaks in such broad generalities. You go like, well, technically, maybe you could pull this out and it makes sense. And I think that's what but he's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's saying. And I think that's how he survives. 'Cause yeah, you could say like, well, there are less shows and TV productions going on, but it's like, it's not, that doesn't have necessarily not a lot to do with like overseas. It's complicated, and he doesn't dive into the minutia of the issues.
Mm-hmm. Well, he barely understands them whatsoever. I mean, honestly,
the way he talks about, like, we're gonna ban foreign films. How many Americans do you see watching foreign films? What does he mean by tariffs on foreign film? Like, am I gonna have to pay $60 to watch Parasite? How does that work? Does he mean filming?
Obviously, it sounded to my ear that. Well, actually, I mean, based on usual right-wing talking points, anything that's produced and filmed outside of the U.S.
Okay, so we're just never gonna have a spy movies anymore, then, right? Because we're never gonna have a movie made by Americans that takes place in like France. James, like I guess this is good. This is the last Mission Impossible, because otherwise we'd never make another Mission Impossible movie again, right? Like, this idea of, like, you can never film outside of the country. Like, I think, god damn it, this is why he succeeds, though. Because you can say, well, technically, a lot of productions have moved out of LA and Hollywood, and a lot of the, like, bustling TV industry that should exist, that used to exist, doesn't exist as much. And, you know, something like federal tax incentives to make it slightly cheaper to shoot some things here versus shooting it, you know, in someplace in England and calling it LA. Would that be good? Yeah, for sure. If you want to do, like, some tax incentives, that's good. But you can tell someone he has no understanding of anything. He's just like, America good, American movies. I'm putting tariffs on movie. Does he know what a tariff is?
Well, speaking of, I have a great quote for you. He said this in that same, well, not the same interview, and he gave an interview over the weekend. And he said, what people don't understand is the country eats the tariff. The company eats the tariff, and it's not passed along at all. China is eating the tariffs.
If that's true, why is he wants to give a package to farmers to help them through the tariffs?
Dude, they always get a fucking bailout.
They always get it. Why are we bailing out certain industries if
that's
the tariffs?
Socialism. That is legit socialism.
Yeah, it's literally governments coming in and giving. Yeah.
It's giving them a handout.
It's handouts.
I thought we were against. I thought we were trying to dismantle the social safety net because it was a handout. We can't help people. What happened to picking yourself up by your bootstraps? Was all of that shit? Yeah, apparently it was, and they don't mean a word of it.
There's a lot of ways you can help. I think the clearest one would be tax incentives, right? To shoot in the United States. If he wants to do that, by all means, right? But then there's other things.
Tax penalties? Or fees, you know? You mean the other way? Incentive? Well, I guess that's fine.
Tax incentives, I would say. Because there's certain things, like, if I'm, again, maybe this is just because I like movies and I have a somewhat of a small understanding of films and the way you shoot films. If I want them to, if they're going to shoot a movie, especially that it's supposed to take place in Italy, I want them to go to Italy and shoot it in Italy. Right? But there are some
Ahsoka and the Mandalorian where it's just all done, or a Marvel movie. Peter, I think this is what you're saying here. This is a quote from a UK producer, and they say, this makes no sense. It implies that a US film is meant to shoot in the US, but the Harry Potter films, Lord of the Rings, Schindler's List, Mission Impossible, Gladiator, and Aviator, and so many more are US films that shot overseas for obvious reasons. Do these films have to shoot in the U.S. from now on? It's an absurd announcement with no meaning nor understanding of storytelling or creative impulses.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that you would say if you have, it's like, just make all the movies in America. You have no understanding what goes into a film and how you make a film and why sometimes it would be shot overseas versus here. Again, if you want to create that industry or strengthen it here, creating tax, because there are some times where it's supposed to be within the United States, but it turns out that it's a lot cheaper. One second. It's a lot cheaper to take it overseas and just claim it's within the United States, right? So there absolutely are some productions where it's like, well, you technically could do this in the United States. You should do this in the United States, but you're not going to because it's cheaper to just take it to another country and shoot it all there. So I think tax incentives are great. If you want to create federal tax incentives to try and strengthen, especially the TV industry, right? Because so many actors survive off of TV jobs, like Law and Order. Law and Order is almost like a government program. It feels like a government program.
Do you see how politics and voting for certain individuals actually matters and is very relevant in the world of movies because it is a business and there are real people who are affected by it? Like, for people to and there are many who are disingenuous, obviously, and bad faith actors, but to ever suggest that the political world and the movie world are separate entities, it's just not the case. Part of, my sadistic side of things found this quite humorous because, of course, what happened over the vibe shift after the election and in the inauguration, all of these elite corporatists basically were going over to kiss the ring, and they were like tripping over themselves to donate for the inauguration. And here, can we give you money? Can we give you money? Can we just prop you up? Because, they just felt the wind blowing in that direction. Which, cool, fine. But they actually believed like they could take advantage of him just because he was on paper a Republican. And usually that works out better for them but I guess this is not at least what they thought was going to happen for them. So, it's just like, I get the impression that people are not realizing that every week we get constant reminders that the people who are just about influential in every part of our lives are morons. I mean, 2 weeks ago, all the idiots on Wall Street were like, why is the stock market crashing? Where is the economy going? Who could have predicted this? And these are the people who evidently have the most say in the economy, even though any person with a brain could have told you what was going to happen there.
Yeah.
I mean
the tariffs were the most obvious.
Like,
we still haven't recovered to the point where we were since before he took office.
Well, we still haven't. And we won't.
Well, it's going to be interesting the next couple of months, because whether it's going to happen, who knows? I mean, it's being predicted that there's going to be like some shock due to empty store shelves, due to because it takes months, like to feel those effects. They feel like there's less ships, going out, less.
In my head, this would take at the very minimum maybe 5-6 months for the full effect to happen and people to actually see it. Mind you, at the moment that we're in right now, things are pretty even worse where they were just for the short-term effect, and people are already very pissed. Like, we're seeing record low approvals already right now, and the worst of the worst has not happened yet.
Yeah.
So that's
but it's but then okay. Well, I don't want to get to it about. Never mind.
There's so much to go into that, but just wanted to put off on that and how that makes no sense, and I guess that's just another way that the president is injecting himself. Although what I thought was hilarious was and that Grace Randolph basically commented on this. Somebody pointed out that Mel Gibson's Passion of the Christ sequel will start shooting this summer.
See, he's gonna change course completely because the what do you call it? What do you call it? Hollywood friends that he has, they will what do you call it? They'll talk to him and they'll get him to backpedal.
I really hate that. I really wish he would just follow through and not backpedal. But that's where we are with this. Anywho, that's where we are. And then at the same time, a lot of us have been celebrating Star Wars Day. It's kind of usually a big day for a lot of us, especially since we've been doing Andor reactions. This might be a pretty good time to plug. David and I, and then some other person who hardly is ever here. We're doing reactions to Andor, the new episodes, and it's been brutal to film, but it's been, I think, really great seasons so far. And I think, I got to tell you, and Peter's just hopping back on here. I was talking about how it's Star Wars Day and how the channel we've been doing Andor reactions. Andor, I think, is really just proving itself to be one of the best shows ever made.
Yeah,
it is. Unbelievably incredible. And Peter, you have not had the opportunity to chime in on Andor. Your thoughts?
It's great. I love it so far. Genuinely no issues as far as what I've seen. And I've seen everything that's, I think, available so far. The 6 episodes, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. I love it.
It's honestly really good. Now, we had... No, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. I'm a little... I think they'll pull through, especially because people that have seen every like the whole season already are like, no, like it sticks to the landing. But I am a little... I don't know. There's a lot still in the air, you know?
It's
like
it's pretty risky what they're doing with like the whole, skipping 1 year every 3 episodes and all that, and trying to like cram in as much info and all that. But so far, they're doing a great job of, in the 4, 5, and 6 episodes, they did a great job of like cramming in what happened within the past year into one. And then
can I just push back on that concern? I feel like, look, I think people are you are perfectly fine to feel nervous because the end is near for sure. But I feel like we just need to remind ourselves this was always the plan.
It wasn't.
This was the design of the... What?
It wasn't always the plan.
Okay, what do you mean? Like, from what I understand, reading back when season 1 was airing in the trades, that they had already been renewed for a season 2, and as far as they were feeding us, as their story is that they were not going to go past season 2, but that had been...
But that wasn't the
while
plan.
Ago. Okay,
the plan was 5 seasons, with each year. Yeah, it was supposed to be 5 seasons originally. While they were filming season 1, Tony Gilroy and talked to what's his name, the actor,
Cassian,
Diego Luna, and he's like, I can't do this for the next 10 years, basically, because they realized, I think while shooting the first one, they realized just how time consuming 5 seasons of this shit would be. So they decided to just do a second season that each 3 episodes is the other 4 years.
But that was Tony Gilroy's decision. For sure.
That was Tony Gilroy's decision. Yeah,
okay,
for sure.
Then I think that's still fine because
I'll say I still prefer it because I don't think they would have gotten a 3rd season.
That's the thing.
I think it's the best.
It was ambitious to think that they could do 5 seasons if this was network television. I think easily that would happen, but even then, what's the question? But like with streaming, what show gets to 5 seasons? Let's not call it Stranger Things.
With how much this show costs versus
it wasn't,
the viewership.
I don't think it... Well, speaking of the viewership, something interesting popped up over the weekend that was given to us by Parrot Analytics. I didn't have the opportunity to read the whole article because it was put under, obviously, a paywall. But the headline came here: Andor has pulled in over $300 million in subscriber revenue. Which they say drives more revenue than Ahsoka.
Okay.
Now, again, I don't really know how they get to that figure. It would go over my head anyway. But if true, that's a pretty big development. Because I feel like the overall perception would be that this show just wouldn't drive all that interest. But can we just take a moment to just appreciate the brilliance of this show? Because when I was watching it earlier today, I was thinking, to think that at some point, like, I'm sure that this show, the only reason it was greenlit was because Rogue One was a popular movie, Diego Luna's character resonated, and we're just gonna do spin-off character, the TV show. And
they didn't think beyond the Rogue One spin-off.
Yeah, that's all that it was. And you could very easily see a version of this show end up being a whole bunch of dicking around and, just keeping the status quo like everything else in the Filoni Favreau verse. And somehow they allowed somebody to come in here and use the character to tell a pretty universal story.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
It's a complete fluke. There was no way they thought this was gonna be what they were getting.
Okay, I'm not doing this on purpose, so do not get your panties in a bunch. And I like that cup. People have been sharing some clips from Rebels where Saw Gerrera and the Mon Mothma come out, and it's not terrible, but it does make me go like, It's just like, I don't know. I look at like the Mon Mothma in Andor, and she's just such a full-fledged character.
Yeah.
And she's not utilized terribly at all in I would say.
But you know
Rebels,
why that's the
it's
case,
just...
Peter? Because it's Dave Filoni's idea of what Mon Mothma and Saw Gerrera are, which is, with everything else, fairly elementary.
Like, she's just kind of like a stern teacher, like...
Yes.
We must fight the Empire. And it's like...
Yeah, it's nothing. It's absolutely nothing. It's just like looking at what the movies did and copying it that. Like, that's just how he is.
And then Saw Gerrera, it's funny because I realized the episode that he's in, that shit takes place, I'm pretty sure, after, well, definitely, doesn't it? After, or no, it doesn't. No, yes, it does.
Which
it takes
episode?
place after,
in 2 episodes.
When he's arguing with Mon Mothma.
That's in 4, so that would be probably
it's
4
after
years. 4 years before. It was after she defects from the Empire, for sure.
That's what I mean. So that's after where we see him right now. So I guess he's gonna shave his head at some point and then grow it all the way back for Rogue One.
No. That clip you're talking about, his head is full of hair.
No, he's bald.
There's a scene where a droid comes out of nowhere and it puts up a hologram of Saw Gerrera and on Yavin 4, and he's arguing with Mon Mothma. I could have sworn he had the full head of hair then. Not that any of this matters, mind you.
No, it doesn't matter. It's just funny. It is funny.
But okay. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I don't know if they're going to... Like, people have been speculating that Andor is going to recreate and improve on that galactic speech that she gives it. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I feel like the speech they're going to focus on is her defecting from the Empire, I think.
Yeah. Okay, well, see, this is where I'm not worried. I'm just a little like, how's it all going to turn out? Because there's a lot of ground to cover.
Can we just be honest with you? It is... Andor is amazing, and we're living in a time where there are very different flavors of Star Wars. But it is kind of absurd to think that you have Rebels and Andor and then the original trilogy all kind of inhabiting the same space. Yeah. And tonally, it doesn't really go all...
That's why I'm just not one of those Star Wars fans anymore that tries to pretend it's one big story or anything like... Like, I like them all as their own thing, you know? Yeah. To me... Andor, the series, and then you can even include Rogue One, is kind of its own thing, right? And like,
although Rogue One does have silly elements that are...
It gets sillier towards the end, yeah. But they kind of live within their own world, basically. Yeah. To me, the original trilogy, and the only one that kind of touches it, is like stuff from the new trilogy, specifically The Last Jedi. That to me lives in its own world. The Filoni stuff, I don't even like all the Filoni stuff. To me, it's like Clone Wars, you know? That obviously, that's very tonally the same thing, right? And it lives within its own world. And I think if you're one of those Star Wars fans, like if you're one of those Star Wars fans that's losing their fucking mind because they recast they didn't have Jimmy Smits, you know?
Yes.
Then it's like, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, you're never gonna be happy. it's because it just doesn't work that way. I'm sorry. These are all crazy, wild, different stories. It takes the same elements, but it does its own thing at the end of the day.
I will say, I think the fandom was a lot more enraged at something even more pathetic. When last year, a show, the Kiadi Mundi's birthday, I guess, being messed up.
Oh,
Oh
that,
yeah.
okay.
That,
Oh man, who gives a shit?
Mhm.
Right?
Who
Like,
gives
Kiari who?
a shit?
Like,
Yeah. I always. You guys ever see Coneheads as a kid?
I saw parts of it.
I know of the one you're talking about, yeah.
Because that's what I would always. In my mind, he was part of that same alien race. I thought it was like an ET thing, where it was like, they had the ETs in the council, in the Phantom Menace. I was like, oh, okay, these other aliens just kind of exist within Star Wars. So stupid. But yeah, that kind of stuff is just, it's so silly, and it's so, and it doesn't matter, because when something's genuinely good, little shit like that just doesn't. It never matters.
Yeah.
But as far as like, because here's where my head's at. We have to find out, specifically Mon Mothma. Mon Mothma needs to get to the point where she's like all in on abandoning
The
everything.
rebellion. Yeah.
And like going all in on like physically attacking and so. Well, I guess even in Rogue One, she wasn't 100%, but they gathered an army, so they kind of are, But so it's like, what's gonna happen to her husband? Because she didn't. What's gonna happen? Where her daughter's kind of off married.
Can I stop you there? I don't want to drag this up, but
Yeah.
I think I know what you're talking about. But if my memory serves correctly, Mon was like, she did not call the attack, correct? Because of the council, which like held her back from doing so. Is that the same thing as not being all in? Because she wasn't willing to risk.
It wasn't just. Well, yeah, because right before the Battle of Scarif, all the other people there, even they were like, "Oh, it's crazy. We're going to attack them. What the fuck?" Like,
Yeah.
There was only a handful of them that was all in on like, "Nah, we gotta strike first." It was that kind of thing. And if I remember, their first real attack was on when they went on that one planet for Jin's father. Seemingly,
Yes, I know. Yeah.
That's the way it kind of came off in Rogue One. You know what I mean? There's there's a lot of rebel groups doing fighting, but as the Rebel Alliance itself, I don't think they had ever really had a major attack.
No, it doesn't seem yeah.
And a lot of them are still it seems very iffy on even doing that. But
I feel like it went back to what you were saying with Andor. I feel like the whole series has been like a slow, like what do they call it? Death by a million cuts, or by 1,000 cuts, and it's been slowly chipping away. Like I think this last 3-episode arc, I mean, it began with her basically not even being able to rely on her stalwarts, her colleagues who would usually vote with her to block the Emperor. Even they are like, we can't do it anymore. I think that's kind of like already we're seeing. And then even at the end, they have this Oath Keeper, and she's just like trying to keep herself from throwing up.
Yeah, she's just hating every second being in that in the Senate. But I mean, there's also like Bix. What happens to Bix? What happens to Luthen? Because Luthen, he's too big a player to live past all of this. What happens with Cyril? K2SO hasn't really even been introduced. Daedra. Everything. And again, this is why it's like, I don't hold this against Rebels because Andor didn't exist at the time. But like the moment in which she like gives up everything, like she's giving up her daughter officially. Like I don't know what happened to her husband. I don't know what happens with. I can honestly see her daughter like coming out and like denouncing her. Right?
Oh yeah.
Like going full like I support. I denounce my mother. She's a terrorist scum, and like
Trump
I can see she.
Basically that,
I
that
can see shit
mentality.
like what happens with the husband, right? Like so, like her decision to like leave and like call to arms everyone, to fight the Empire. Like, that's gonna emotionally, like, she's not gonna be like, ha 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 ha.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, yeah. Like, she's not just gonna be like this perfectly poised, like, oh yes, fight against the Empire. They have been terrible. Oh yes, rebels are great. She would be like an emotional wreck, and then she would pull herself together long enough to give that speech. Like, I'm just imagining Andor doing it, compared to how it's done in the show, where it's like,
right.
She comes off like not a human being. But it's not fair, because that show and all of her, she didn't really even become a character until Andor.
Honestly,
what a great character.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because she had been around in a lot of things. Actually, she had been in deleted scenes of Revenge of the Sith. She made numerous appearances as a background senator with Padme and Bail in the Clone Wars. Of course, Return of the Jedi, where she came from. Rogue One, but Andor really is the one that actually settled her in. Yeah.
And you didn't tell me this, but I saw it because I was seeing a review on YouTube the other day that she's in Ahsoka as like leading.
You haven't seen Ahsoka?
The New Republic.
Yeah. We did see her, and we saw the difference between.
It's like night and day. She comes off oh man, I don't want to hate, but she comes off just like Rebel, like a cartoon character, where she's like, yes, we are about diplomacy. We do not know if the. It's like,
well, guess because that's Filoni.
It's Filoni
who's writing the script. That's what it is. That's really much all that he can do with that character. And at the time, and I think you never saw our reactions. What frustrated me even more so about that scene. Well, exactly what frustrated you is that, okay, we're seeing Mon Mothma post Andor in a terrible scene filled with an endless amount of frustrating situations. She's now the chancellor of this new republic, and they're seemingly just the Filoniverse has just made the decision that we're just going to make her be incompetent after how we saw her sail through Andor and lead a rebellion. Like, that doesn't work. Like, we need to see, like, if and I was telling David this last week, if Tony wants to do, and if Lucasfilm wants to do more Star Wars, get Mon Mothma post Episode 6, and let's explore this new republic and how did it collapse in the first place. If that's even salvageable at this point, because we all know it leads to the dead speak. And that's a different situation.
That's tough when you know where it leads, right? Where it's sort of like a Game of Thrones thing, right? Where it's like, man, we kind of like in the first season of the Dragon
House
of the Dragon, when they do the whole like not speech, but like the prophecy of like the who would be king or whatever. And it just you're just reminded how that leads to absolutely fucking nothing.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair though, some people are kind of like, hey, keep House of the Dragon going, do a couple more extra shows, and then just redo Game of Thrones. Like, some people are kind of like, you can do that.
I would say wait until to see if what's his name ever actually finishes it. He might not. But at this point, I don't think it's smart to try and do it again without it being finished. Because I think that was what happened. It wasn't finished. They ran out of books. It fell apart.
No, it wasn't finished, and the writers got lazy because they wanted to go straight to their Star Wars stuff. And, and then
they couldn't even get George R.R. Martin to at least share the endings he was considering.
That's like, honestly, the way he's writing, I think he just doesn't know. I think he's written himself into the biggest corner any writer has ever seen. And he stares at that computer in the corner collecting dust like it's the demon on his shoulder.
And it's so weird though too, because he knows what not to do with the show and all that. And then also
maybe that was exactly his idea, and he's like, "Fuck, everyone hates it. I can't do that."
Well, the thing though too is like, there's nothing necessarily wrong with how it ended. It's
just write it better.
How it ended. It's just how we got there is what. Yeah. Messed it all up.
That was the bigger issue.
Yeah, because I really like the idea of what's that one dude's name? The one in the wheelchair,
Braun.
Yeah, I like the idea of him becoming king. I think that's fantastic. but it's just none of the other characters know of him, and to just decide like, hey, let's make him king. That makes perfect sense. But
you know what? No, we all, everybody knows the show should have ended with Cersei killing everybody else, and that would be the only way that it would have worked.
You're with her?
I think. Well, until she kills us. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's kind of what it should. Anyway, look, it's tough, but I do feel like God, I would really love another season of Tony Gilroy's Star Wars, and I think that what's really primed for him, if he were interested, would be post 6, like I had mentioned, but of course there's drawbacks with that. But if we can take a step back and look at this as to where we are right now, this past week was the 20th anniversary of Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. And we're now living in a really interesting era because, the Star Wars prequels themselves are genuinely far more beloved than they ever have been because of the generation that grew up with them, which, by the way, pertains to the three of us right here. We were all children when that movie came out, and we saw it when it came out. And I think all of us, to one extent, at one point in our lives, were like, yeah, the prequels are great. Like, we love that. We love Star Wars. And I feel like many people just didn't go and engage with it any further past it, because I feel like all three of us have really re-engaged those films pretty regularly since that one came out 20 years ago. And I would be lying to you if I would say that I felt the same way that I did about it 20 years ago. I feel like it's a movie that I can definitely be engaged with. And the only way that I think, honestly, that it works for me is if I choose to view it as another episode of the Star Wars series that's ongoing through all of these different like decades and eras, right? Like if I have in my head Clone Wars or Rebels or Bad Batch, I'm like, okay, well, this is awesome, but it's a film. It needs to stand on its own, and I feel like it doesn't really do that, like, at all. All of the stuff that's in there, like, hey, you can say on one level that George Lucas had all this in his head, but that's always been his Achilles heel, is like he can't communicate that worth a damn in a movie, it looks like. And that's why if you're just trying to watch that film by itself, you're just like completely out on a limb. And that's not even getting into the very on the nose, just over the top dialogue that I argue really only would work in an animation, not really in live action. And I felt just like moments that I were like, they're cringe. And I'm sorry to say, but Hayden still is terrible. I was like, you turned out against me and all that stuff, and I'm like, oh my god,
it's not believable. It's not well done. The romance never worked. Like, Obi-Wan gets nothing to do for every single one of those prequel films, which is pretty insane. Ewan McGregor is great as Obi-Wan, but he has busy work killing General Grievous, who we know nothing about. He's just in charge now, I guess. His mission is he goes and he kills him, and then he kills, and that's it. Like, there's nothing. Obi-Wan is kind of doing busy work for the film until they can get to the third act. The film exists for the third act. Like, that's kind of it. And even
which
then,
in and of itself is bloated and overly long.
It's too much, right? And you can go on and on and on. Everyone's said all the issues in the world with the prequels. It's nostalgia. It's one of those things where it's not even worth arguing. It just seems like it's a certain demographic, a certain age is always going to feel connected to those films. And it's not even like I'm someone outside looking in. That was me, I love Star Wars because of those films. So I'm not some outsider looking in when it comes to all that. But Yeah, it's what it is. It's silly though. It's so funny when the way people try to criticize Star Wars, but it's like they love certain other things, and it's like, okay, I don't know if you know exactly what it is you want out of Star Wars as a whole. You know, like certain things they find very cringe, and then other things they're like, this is classic Star Wars.
No, for real. I think the prequels in large part can be, blamed for, like, I guess the even more dumbification. I think because, like, I think a lot of the Star Wars prequel fans have this idea that Star Wars is mainly just for the cool designs and the action set pieces, and that's it. And you see that kind of manifest itself in different eras, especially with Luke in The Mandalorian Season 2. Which I still like, what was that? And then you saw those reactions of those people being brought to tears.
I mean, it's worse than the Boba Fett show. It's a million times worse.
Yeah. Oh, I mean worse in the Boba Fett show.
Yeah. Where they talk to the AI Luke and Ahsoka's there. And it's like... Oh God. Yeah, no bueno. No bueno at all. Imagine if the reunion of the Mandalorian and Grogu happened in the movie. I'm not saying I would be hyped for it, but I think a lot of more people would be hyped for it. Of like that was like,
which reunion?
That was the thing, you know. The reunion.
Baby Grogu and the actual Mandalorian. Instead
of having them just get back together in the finale of the Book of Boba Fett, not even in the next season.
Yeah.
If that had been something that happened in the film, oh my God. Like, just have a whole season of The Mandalorian on his own, and then have the movie, and then in the trailer it shows Grogu's back. Oh my God. Never mind. I'm not a Lucasfilm executive because I'd be making very different decisions.
Ain't that the truth? Anyway, that's where we are with Star Wars right now. But we're also in a really interesting space right now when it comes to the MCU, because I feel like this really kind of came out of the blue, because I don't necessarily feel that I was expecting anything to the level of which we're now going to discuss. But over the past week, everybody here had the chance to see the new entry in the MCU called Thunderbolts, which hilariously they're also now calling it something else, which we'll get to.
Asterisks.
Yeah, basically. This was a movie that when the trailers would come on, we literally would forget, oh yeah, they made that movie. And every time we would sit here and try and think about what there was to look forward to, this was always, oh yeah, that's coming out. That's literally lying on top of a mountain of years and years and years of just disappointment after disappointment, and even more so to the point where it was just getting unbelievably pathetic and embarrassing. That Captain America movie was unbelievably just like... To call that amateur hour would be a very kind compliment for what that ended up being. It just was not it. And to speak of its quality, Peter and I have discussed how frequently we have forgotten the movie even existed or that we even watched it. Like, it was bad. So here we are with Thunderbolts, and I gotta tell you, I feel like a lot of the criticisms that people would hold against a Phase 1 or Phase 2 MCU film would definitely be there. Like, I'll tell you, I thought there could be more material with certain individuals of the team, which, thinking back on, I feel the film could have really benefited from fleshing out more of that stuff and really make it a great movie, which I don't think this really is a great movie, but it looks great in comparison to everything else that came around it. Because ultimately, this is like a perfectly competent movie that does basically filmmaking 101 and storytelling 101, and rarely a hiccup in sight that like makes them trip over themselves as they're falling down the stairs, as most recent films in the Marvel Universe have felt like when you're watching it. They were able to pull off something that was coherent, that was competent, that actually had a attempt to tell a story with thematic resonance and tie that in to the story, the climactic action, and the actual characters themselves.
It was a movie.
It was a movie. There was characterization going for it. And this was something that they had not produced in quite some time. I really surprisingly enjoyed myself. Again, it's not a great movie. It was just actually a good movie. And it was one that I had a blast watching. And I can't even believe the words are coming out of my mouth. You know, I was just in disbelief when I was watching this movie. It's like, oh my God, did they actually make something that's working? The team dynamic was working. I liked a lot of the personalities, if not every personality. And I really did thought that there were moments where not only did it not look like shit, like there was, hey, it actually looks pretty good for a change. And the action was like not awful. And the third act climactic situation was actually pretty unique, all things considered, from their standards. Like, and then where Marvel always, I think, had up until recently a pretty good advantage over everybody else, it was they were always able to pair great actors and make very likable characters and personalities that would really carry you through. And I gotta tell you, like, this was the closest. And I don't consider Guardians 3. Guardians 3 is a great movie. Fuck you to all those who think otherwise, because it really is. By the way, and if you really feel like that way, you have no business watching Superman. So as far as I'm concerned, get the hell out of here. Anyway, that isn't really part of the MCU machine. That was allowed to be its own thing, so I'm not considering that. But clearly, and very easily, this was the most charming, charismatic, and dare I even say hilarious Marvel movie in many, many, many years. And it makes it even funnier, the idea that, in all honesty, this is a film that should have come out 4-5 years ago.
Yeah.
And somehow it also, even though it is something that desperately is needed to kind of revive, you know, like you're resuscitating a dead body almost, you can't help but wonder something on the horizon that may just bring everything back down to where it was, you know? So Peter, you and I had a really good time watching it. You and I were laughing pretty consistently throughout the film. And I was like, wow, it was a reminder for why I liked these movies to begin with. You know, these movies weren't the best. They weren't all that great, but they were great fun. And this was a really good reminder of that. So I got to tell you, I'm eating my words here, but like, this is the first time, and I'm happy to do so, because I think I will choose a positive theatrical experience over being right anytime. And especially since Captain America, that last movie, was so depressing. Like, and by the way, what this has to be like the most, like, from one after the other, the follow-up. We have this and then this. Like, the range of quality between the two most recent projects is just like, it's a wide
insane
chasm.
Yeah.
Peter.
Okay. Well, you didn't let me read the synopsis, so. Thunderbolts. Asterix. Directed by Jake. Everyone deserves a second shot. After finding themselves ensnared in a death trap, 7 disillusioned cast-offs must embark on a dangerous mission that will force them to confront the darkest corners of their pasts. Starring Florence Pugh. That's all you need to know. Okay. That description, I think, is kind of inaccurate, but okay. 7? I don't know about Thunderbolts. I wouldn't say I was looking forward to Thunderbolts, but I was cautiously optimistic about the chances of the film, simply because, not because of like the trailers or anything, but simply because behind the scenes, there did never seem to be any issues. It seemed to run fairly smoothly.
Or you mean fuckery?
No, yeah, there didn't seem to be any fuckery going on. It's coming out that there was different, in the initial stages, different ideas of stories and stuff like that. But that always happens with any movie, right?
That's normal. That's normal stuff in movies.
That's like normal like stuff. Whereas with Marvel, it can get very unnormal. See Captain America, the last Captain America, where they like shot a film and then they realized it kind of sucks. So they're rewriting it and, you know, refilming the entire thing. Or Daredevil, Brave New... I was going to say Daredevil, Brave New World. Daredevil, Born Again, where they shot an entire show and realized it sucked. So then they brought in a new screenwriter and showrunner. And they realized, well, we can't reshoot the entire show. So we're just going to reshoot the first episode and like the last 2 episodes. And then hopefully it works, it gels together.
Or even with this recent Daredevil, where it was the same thing, except they end up salvaging some of the episodes in the end and like using that toward.
That's literally what I said.
Yeah.
Like word for word, that's literally what I just said.
Sorry, I was distracted by a really interesting comment. Alexis Moreno was like, "Bruh, it's late." I just noticed that comment. When did she send that out? I'm like,
probably when you asked her to be on.
You know what? Fine. I just won't ask next time.
Yeah. We don't need women on this show. Men. You guys have to do it too.
No.
No. Okay.
I'm not co-signing that. That's not what I meant.
Oh, that's exactly what you meant, but okay.
No.
But yeah, even now with the Avengers, where it's like the script's not done, they're filming it, they don't know the full cast list because they haven't even closed on all the deals for everyone that's supposed to appear in it. It's coming out next year, so that probably means they've already started doing visual effects for the film before it's even started filming anything. It's classic Marvel. That's the thing, man. Okay, because you're talking about like it's very hard to get people are like, a lot of people are saying like Marvel's back. You know what? In some ways they are, and I'll tell you why. Because this is, I think, the best Marvel film since Endgame, not directed by James Gunn. I don't count. I'm gonna be real with you. I don't count Guardians films because James he's his own beast, you know. Yeah. So and he's left Marvel, right? He's off doing his own DC thing. So him, you know, doing a last mic drop.
Many years ago, we've had the Suicide Squad and we've had Peacemaker, mind you. Yeah. Now we're gonna have Superman. So it's been a while ago since that. You know.
Him doing one last mic drop at Marvel it's awesome, but it doesn't necessarily tell me anything about the future of Marvel. You know what I mean?
It's the equivalent of Tony Gilroy doing Andor with Lucasfilm. It
very
much has nothing to do with anything at Lucasfilm, which that is an atrocity in its own right, where that's going to go.
Even when I walked out of the theater for Thunderbolts, I'm like, oh yeah, this is for sure the best movie since Endgame. Completely forgetting that Guardians 3 happened. I'm like, oh wait, yeah, that's also great. Never mind. You know what? I'm just going to keep it separate.
It feels separate because it's like it's its own thing, basically. To me, it's actually a part of Marvel's future. So for me, it is able to do like, okay, we're kind of back kind of way. Because it's like, you got a pretty good director, you got a pretty good writer. It seems like the first draft of the script was like an in-house Marvel writer that has written like a bunch of other like Black Widow.
They wrote Black Widow, yeah.
But then they hired like a really good writer
because
to come
the beef
in.
director was making it, and he hired his beef writer to do rewrites to it.
So they hired like an actually really good.
And you can tell.
You can tell like the shell of like the Marvel movie, and then like the really good writer coming in and like turning it into a film.
Mhm.
You know, you can see that within the film. So
Honestly,
like,
on the whole, and this is really hard for me to actually get these words out there because it's true. It was actually a pretty good script. Like the dialogue.
no,
was like,
it's solid.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a solid
wow.
script.
What I was thinking when I was watching this movie, remember the episode that we did where we were kind of like, okay, who's on Earth that you can make an Avengers movie with? And we were,
Oh, yeah.
Oh
throwing
yeah,
out
we were
Sam
trying to come up with
Wilson,
Avengers too.
Peter Quill,
Yeah.
and all that, and we were just kind of like, oh man, this is a great like teen interaction, and all that. As I'm watching the movie, I'm like, this is a great team, this is a great interaction. Like, what the
It's a
heck?
good
This is
team,
almost
yeah.
like what we were kind of planning on doing. They basically did it on this movie, and so
Are you saying we willed this into existence, even though we had nothing to do with the film?
Mhm.
I wish I could say that.
Are you saying we are personally responsible for the success of the new Avenger?
But
No, but
but then I was also just thinking like this doesn't really take much to entertain us for these Marvel movies. Like just
no, it doesn't. I guess this is what makes me so mad because I feel like an asshole. I feel like I'm asking so much, but then it's like I'm really not.
Yeah, 'cause
I'm asking for like the most basic, like
Mhm.
make a fucking movie. I'm already so into this comic book shit. If you just make like a basic movie, I'll love it.
Mhm.
Like
Well, that's
Seriously.
why Phase 1 worked so well in the first place. We forget that. But I mean, they were
Yeah.
actually just making like competent,
a competent
basic
film.
films.
Mhm.
Like, and that took them so far.
Yeah, and it's like if you just have basic knowledge of who these characters are. I'm not talking about like if you watch the movies or shows that they were on,
Mhm.
like just basic knowledge of who these characters are. You're gonna find this entertaining, which
Yeah.
is like kind of
Okay.
how it always was with the past Marvel movies. Like we've always just kind of went, all right, Ultron, who's Ultron? It's like, oh yeah, he wants to destroy the world. Okay, cool. And then fucking James Spader comes in and giving a good performance. And we're like, this is amazing, this is awesome, and all that.
Yeah.
Like we just kind of like I said, like we just needed the basic knowledge of these characters, and you can go off from there. And we were entertained easily. And so this
my
is
God.
kind of what this movie did.
Yeah.
And I can go like forever the kinds of problems that this movie has with the knowledge of the movies and just the movie itself and all that. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, though, I was very, very entertained. This is one of the only movies that I can like get myself to probably rewatch out of any other ones.
Yeah, I can't tell you other than Guardians again.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you the last time I was like, hell yeah, like I'd be down for like a rewatch of like a Marvel film. This is the first time walking out. I was like, yeah, I definitely watch that again. Like
Mhm.
it's a good time. Again, it's a good tight script. There's very clear character arcs, beginning, middle, end, likable characters, character progression, good action scenes, and basic
There's
action
character
scenes.
progression, yay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
That's
it's
what I'm
just
saying.
like-
But also world class actor. But that's the thing. They hire world class actors if you just give them a good script, a solid script, nothing award worthy, just a solid script, and give it to like award worthy actors. They can plus that script with their
Mhm.
performance, which I absolutely think happens with like Lewis Pullman and Florence Pugh and what's his name, Red Guardian.
David Harbour. There's
David
also,
Harbour.
Wyatt Russell.
Right, I love Wyatt Russell. He's really, really great.
Mhm.
I've loved him since Overlord.
Oh, Julia
no one
Louis
saw.
Dreyfus. Who can we just
yeah.
stop and mention her because that's someone who has had several appearances in this new era of Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
And you were talking about it, Peter. Like,
Oh, I've
she
never
was
liked
just-
her in anything.
because she was nothing.
She was.
She was nothing but a.
It felt like a character where it's like, why are they trying to make her happen? Like why? What is? Why are they forcing this nothing character on us so much? Like, what's the big
Because she
deal?
was in the post credit of Black Widow. We saw her in Black Panther. Did we also see her or have
Falcon and the
mentions to
Winter
her in,
Soldier,
Mm-hmm.
Hawkeye?
Hawkeye, yeah.
She wasn't.
Right? Was it?
I don't think she was.
Or was there
Hawkeye.
okay.
Her presence, because what's her name was there?
'Cause Florence
With
Pugh.
yeah.
Pew. But yeah, she was always this character where it's like, I don't know why.
Mhm.
I don't know why they're trying to make her a thing. I don't feel her. I don't think anyone is feeling her.
She was technically kind of supposed to be like Coulson in the first phase. You know how he would just show up sometimes and
Well, from this movie, she's very much doing it in like an Amanda Waller type shtick. Especially the way she just...
Well, I could guess maybe the Coulson thing in that she was like trying to get a team together, but like as far as like her personality, like it's much more Amanda Waller from the Suicide Squad movies. Clearly, I mean, all of which is to say is that she gave a pretty great performance here, and I was actually kind of nervous for like how they were gonna handle that character because I was like, okay, is this gonna get old real quick? Are they gonna like dispose of her? And it was like nothing, because so many of these Marvel films lately, when they have something that they're really working with, they have no idea and they're disposed of. Like I'll never forgive how they just like unceremoniously destroyed Andy Serkis's Claw character in Black Panther. I mean, that's something like not knowing what you have and then you just like get rid of it completely. But here, like she's just like she's so fun to watch on screen. And I mean, just her whole thing in this movie is just constantly pivoting from one to the other to see how she comes out on top. And yet, in the back of your head, you know, somehow, in spite of all of literally everything goes to shit, you know, she's gonna come out on top no matter what. And the way that she pulls that off, I gotta tell you, I was like, even I was like, caught, you know, off guard, like, oh, and she did it. She did it. Like she's a fun individual, and I mean, kind of like the serious, also kind of half not so serious ways. I think what's interesting about that character is that there are moments in which like she can come off to some people as not taking it as seriously, but it's because she knows she has victory in the bag, and it doesn't undercut anything happening in this movie, which is one thing that we wanted to bring up, is because in most Marvel films, you have everything servicing the humor and at the sacrifice of everything else. This is a film that doesn't have that.
Never did it. Every time there was like a serious emotional moment, it never once was undercut. Not once. Like even when they'll have those moments where they're like thrown into the void because they have like they touch Bob, or they're in close vicinity to Bob, and like individual characters get sucked into the void. Mm-hmm. It would have been so easy to like, as they get out of the void, like make a joke, like just some lame joke. I don't know, as a way to like lessen the undercut the sort of serious tone that's going on in that moment. But they never do that. Like even when it comes to someone that they like to make jokes about, which is John Walker, it's handled, you know, seriously.
Dare I say, because they were able to commit to that, it came off kind of earnest, and I'm like, whoa,
yeah,
they were able to do that.
Yeah, and even the I love the third act. I see a lot of people feel like it kind of fell apart in the third. There's some people that say they would have wanted a little bit more of an action scene. I completely disagree.
Hell no, they need less
that's a non-starter.
Mm-hmm. I mean, did you see the action set piece in Captain America? I mean, whew, that was
ugly.
Bad.
That was bad. And then other people feel like it was kind of like, like kind of disappointing or something. To me, that's kind of like what made the movie for me. It's like, okay, all of this is working, all of this is good, but it isn't until that third act it's like, okay, they committed to the story that they were trying to tell, right? Because a lot of the times the issues I have with past Marvel movies, even the ones I think are good and the ones I really like, it does feel like they kind of don't commit to the story they chose to tell in the first act. And then by the third act, it kind of drops a little bit of what they were going for, or even becomes a completely different film. Whereas with this movie, it's like, oh no, they committed from the very beginning of the title sequence of The Void, taking out all the triumph of the Marvel theme, and Olenna saying how she just feels she's in a dark place and stuff like that. They carry that theme and tone all the way to the third act, where the big finale is all about that and dealing with that, where it's like, okay, the film committed like a movie would, instead of just abandoning
one of those
it.
old Marvel films where the humor would actually be adding to moments, not taking away from moments.
Yes.
I stumbled across this GIF right here, and I was reminded instantly. So the end of the film, when Valentina basically announces the new Avengers in that ambush press conference, and then of course the reporters are like cheering and shit, and then it cuts to Bob, who's also clapping, thinking he's not part of the team or something.
It's a funny moment.
But that also just goes to show you what a successful presence and character Bob was, and I think it's impressive because lately they have been terrible at setting up new characters, like just genuinely awful.
That they used to be so good at that, where you would watch a new Marvel movie and go like, it wasn't the best, but I really like this new character, and I can't wait to see them, in then show up other places in Marvel.
Civil War had two great ones with Black Panther and Spider-Man, especially really infamous ones.
I mean, that's how it was with any of the Marvel movies. It's just like it's always the character interactions that got you entertained.
Vision in Age of Ultron was a big one.
They live and die by introducing new characters and going like, I can't wait to see where they go next, and I feel like they've just been failing at that recently, where there's not a single character they introduced in the last Captain America movie that makes me go, I can't wait to see where they go next.
There was a character introduced in the last Captain America movie?
Captain Israel,
no,
Thunderbolt Ross,
the new Falcon, technically.
The new Falcon. He's all like, he's just kind of there. I just kind of don't care. You know what I mean? Like, there's just nothing to them. And then if you go
ironically, the one that I think maybe the last one that actually kind of hit was from a not so good movie, Black Widow.
Yeah, but that's what I mean.
Yelena was a breakout, character from that movie.
That's classic Marvel.
Yeah.
That's real classic Marvel, where it's like, I'm not crazy about the movie, but I do like these characters. And if you throw these characters and other stuff, I'll be kind of into that.
And I guess I would mention Shang-Chi, but Marvel forgot that character existed too.
Marvel forgot, which is crazy, because that was a very successful film for them. And they just like... Is Shang-Chi? I hope they have him in the new event. At least throw him a bone. Have him.
Is he? He's not on the cast list yet, is he?
No, he is. They had,
okay.
No, they had shown you didn't. I don't know. I guess you didn't see the photo where members of the new Avengers film.
I saw a photo with James Marsden and Ian McKellen. Is that real? Or is that like a Photoshop thing?
No. I think that's photoshopped.
Okay, that didn't look real either. It's like, wait, what? That can't be. Yeah.
But there was another one where they went to go see Thunderbolts, just at the actors of it, and I think it was M'Baku, the actor who does M'Baku, Robert Downey Jr., Shang-Chi.
Yeah, Black Panther also had a lot of really good side characters that didn't really come back in part 2. I mean, obviously you couldn't get Chadwick back because he passed away, and or Michael B. Jordan back because he was killed in the first one, but you also didn't bring back Daniel Kaluuya, which would have been interesting to explore that character, and M'Baku also was kind of just like dwindled to basically nothing in that movie too.
I mean, he became King of Wakanda.
Yeah, I think it was pretty...
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Remember?
I
told you we need to rewatch that movie because it just didn't have much sticking power with me.
I don't remember,
but I do remember that. Yeah, and they did bring back Michael B. Jordan.
Oh yeah, they did. You don't remember, dude? Yeah,
he do not remember that movie at all.
Yeah,
had a really great moment with the new Black Panther. I can't remember her name. The sister.
Okoye? Oh no,
Okoye?
Oya's the bald one. Okoye?
Oh yeah, Okoye is the bald one. Yeah.
Shuri.
Yes.
Yeah,
he had
Shuri.
a great scene with Shuri in that movie. So
I gotta rewatch it because I saw it. I liked it, but I guess it just didn't stick with me. Like Thunderbolts is sticking with me more, but I need to rewatch.
But yeah, I think it may have been Yelena, because that was the last time that people were like, "Oh, I love Yelena," and the thing is, like, yeah, that was the only reason to watch that movie. And then also Yelena,
and then
I gotta tell you,
what's
was my
his name?
favorite part of Hawkeye when she showed up.
The Red Guardian.
Oh, Red Guardian, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think other side characters. They just don't work. Like, what's her name? Man, I forgot that they're gonna drop it, but it seems like Marvel's gonna try and hide it.
Teyonah Parris, who plays
Ironheart.
That one was that one too.
Yeah.
I was talking about Monica Rambeau, which was introduced in WandaVision. Well, technically, yeah, in WandaVision, I think.
Yeah, like her as a character just has not hit.
No, yeah, even in the movie, she wasn't that much.
I like her as an actress. I remember I was the one where I was like, I don't think she was very good in WandaVision. I don't think she was, and I haven't seen the Marvels. I told you that the only one I haven't seen is Quantumania. That's a lie. I also haven't seen the Marvels.
Oh, that's right.
But yeah,
Marvels is funny.
I was about to bring up Quantumania too, but like, yeah, they brought up the daughter.
Every character that they introduced. Yeah, it's just none of it's hitting. None of it's hitting.
Quantumania is a complete waste of anyone's time. There's no point in watching that movie.
At this point, especially, because we're getting Doom.
That's true.
But to take it back like 20 minutes, when I say Marvel is back, it is because of that. Because it's not James Gunn, who is his own guy at this point, a separate entity from Marvel, but a genuinely Marvel film about, it's not a sequel, it's not a, it's semi-introducing new characters to us, it's doing its own thing, it's its own original film, and it's not necessarily just a cameo fest or exists to set up another film. It tells its own story. There's some cool connectivity like the classic Marvel films had, especially at the end. I like it. I'm like, oh, this is cool for people that care about the universe, and I dig it, especially the way they went about it. But it's just a solid, good time at the movie theaters, great fun, superhero film. And that's the first time, minus James Gunn, in a while. In a while, where it's like it's stuck with me. You can tell it connects with audiences.
Oh yeah, you really felt it. I think people themselves around us were like, "Wow, this is actually connecting," which is actually a pretty big deal. But I think what's also impressive of what the film did is, remember, one of the reasons for why we were not really enthused about the project to begin with was because of a very lame roster of people.
Oh, I hated.
Remember where they
roster
came from? Like, I mean, it included like three players from Black Widow, which was just like, okay,
it's like, oh, this is a Black Widow sequel. I hated the first Black Widow.
You got John Walker from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which
Ant-Man
was
and the
total
Wasp
reject.
At the time was my least favorite Marvel.
The Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp, which, like, who even remembered that was a thing? And yet I found her charming in this movie. I was like, whoa.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I was like,
she
what?
worked well.
No, she had like the least amount of like character stuff in this movie, but like what she had though,
even
she was still
worked,
charming.
Yeah.
Well, Taskmaster, which, I mean, that was funny.
Okay,
what happened
it
there.
Yeah, but
I will say I was a little bummed out because I do feel with this team they could have done some interesting stuff with her as a character. They could have made her
the lamb
work in a way that they made every other character work here, right?
Yeah.
Like even John Walker. John Walker's, he's actually a really cool character. He's such a fun, interesting character because he's just this dick. he's not right to be Captain America, but he's also not necessarily evil. You know what I mean? He could be a hero.
If he wasn't an asshole, which that's...
But he's always going to be at least a little bit of an asshole, you know? But sort of navigating him in that character, it's well done, and it's interesting and fun. And yeah, the same with all the other characters. I like having Bucky at sort of a place. They're like, there's not much for Bucky to do, but I like where Bucky is as a character, where he's sort of the member of the team where he's like, I've been where you all have been before. I've come out the other side, you know. And it's almost like like in Alcoholics Anonymous, you have someone that like leads the group who's been sober for like 30 years, who's been where they are right now. If they're just coming in, trying to get better, he's that kind of guy. I don't know. It just all of it. It worked. It worked like a film is supposed to, like a screenplay is supposed to with characters. And the reason why I say Marvel is kind of back is because I'm hoping that same. It looks like to me it could be that we're gonna get a 1-2 punch with the Fantastic Four.
I was telling Peter that earlier this year. I was hearing Joanna Robinson from the Big Picture podcast, the Ringerverse. Because she, I think, is the personality on staff that has her ear closest to the ongoings of the Marvel world, and how there was a pretty big shift in after the collapse, the complete and utter collapse of the production of Captain America, New World Order, Brave New World, whatever it was called, and that Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four that was the asterisk back then, have benefited significantly from the fact that Marvel was in this moment where they had basically cut a whole bunch of ties loose. And that, that they were like buckling the belt basically, and like we need to focus. And I feel like, I mean, true, that might just be ultimately the biggest thing overall. I think the budget,
I'm sure it contributed.
Fucking disaster. But I feel like one of the biggest issues is that they were just doing 10 things at the same time. And if you recall back in 2013, 14, 15, 16, up until 17, they were only just doing 2 movies a year.
Yeah. It's a lot easier to put out a solid film if you're doing 2 a year. Mm-hmm. You're doing 3, 4 a year, plus 2, 3, 4, 5 Disney Plus shows all in the works at the same time. Fucking insane. Absolutely insane.
Which one was the height of it? Because it felt like there was a year there where we had like No Way Home, Shang-Chi, Eternals, and then Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, and then I'm sure I'm missing in some. Yeah, that
insane. Too much. Yeah. Way too much.
It's funny though. I mean, thinking about like the Pose Endgame like world of it, like movie, very clearly it's like alone is just Thunderbolts. The shows, there were a couple of ones that I really liked, but they all just fumbled the endings, like Moon Knight and Miss Marvel. Like again, it was just like I think back on those shows and I remember moments that I really liked, but then again the endings were just the same and they all suffered with the same problems.
The one I loved the most, and it feels like we're just never gonna get back to that world, is Werewolf by Night. Yeah,
but that was like, well, that is a one-off, right? Like,
it was a one-off. It was a special presentation. Yeah, it wasn't like a whole show,
right?
Which is maybe why it worked so much better.
Yeah.
No, but it's funny. The biggest obstacle.
Although, wasn't there at one point the idea of doing Midnight Suns on Disney Plus?
I don't know if it'll be on Disney Plus. I'm sure that's still in the works.
That was back when Blade was an option, and now it's just like
who knows what's going on with Blade. That's so stupid. But I mean, they have Moon Knight, they have Blade, they have the Werewolf by Night. They should be able to put together. I know they want to use Ghost Rider. Like, come on, like. It's so to me this is like the most untapped potential at Marvel right now.
Ghost Rider is such a popular character. It's like you're really not. Anyway, but speaking of like, also I was nervous for what they were gonna do with Bob, because I feel like the first half of the movie, they did such a really good job of setting him up and being making him interesting and likable, and then in the middle of the film, it feels like he was like recruited to be like Valentina's like right hand man, right? And from there, in my mind, I was like, oh no, they're gonna ruin this. They're just gonna make him the bad, and they're gonna have to take him down, and it would just have been a waste of a character.
Which we've seen before.
Which we've seen before many, many times, and I'm like, oh no, you're gonna ruin it. And they don't do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They fully committed to the story they were telling. That's why I'm saying the third act is where I went like, Oh, thank God.
Mm-hmm.
It actually came together and worked, you know?
And no disrespect to Steven Yeun. I think he's great, but I
yeah.
feel like it was really meant to be to have Lewis Pullman in that role. Like, he really
He's
brought
fantastic.
that character to life the way that I think was truly meant to be. Like, he not only understood the assignments, but he really, this is what actors do. He intricately understood the subtleties and the nuances of that character, because it's not all the same. And then also, can we just give it up for like somebody in the visual department or in the creative art department in that movie that actually, you know, tried to do something interesting and memorable with like the dark
the
Bob
void
image with the
really great
that
character
was-
design.
Mm-hmm.
And then just really fun, inventive, like the way he like just shadows people, like sends them to the shadow realm.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's completely, it's non-violent, but every time I see it, it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It just comes off very brutal.
I think it's honestly a little bit disturbing.
It's
Especially when they do it to the little girl.
Yes.
Well, that was,
but it's such
kinda
a
laughing in my
simple
theater.
little trick. Oh
well, they
my
were
God.
laughing because they were like, did it just do that? It was, I think it was like an awkward laugh.
It's
like,
an awkward laugh, like, what the fuck? But it just works so well.
Mm.
Oh my God, there's superheroes saving people in
that
this
was
movie.
the other thing too. I know, like they were out in the open and they were rescuing people from falling debris.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, but then also too, what I really like though is that the whole story just takes place in very little time, like within 1 or 2 days or something like that, and that so helped a lot with that, because it's not much of a complaint for me, but I do understand when people go like, oh, there's this big world-ending threat, why aren't these superheroes calling the other Avengers, you know, the other superheroes and all that, getting back up and everything. It's not that big of a deal for me, but when watching this movie, I'm like, oh, I kind of like that they can't do that at all. Like, this is all happening super fast. It has to be.
It wasn't going to happen. I know Peter was mentioning that people were complaining about Mayor Wilson Fisk not doing anything, as if that was ever what's he going to do?
I just don't understand what people. Did you just want a shot of him sitting in his desk and then he gets shadow realmed? Like, what do you think was going to happen?
Yeah.
How would that add anything to the film?
Who else lives in the city?
Spider-Man.
Daredevil and Spider-Man?
Daredevil and Spider-Man. What are they gonna fucking do? Do you just want a shot of them getting shadow realmed, like Spider-Man swinging, and then just like I'm not sure they wouldn't do anything.
Yeah,
like if this was the Battle of New York, I get that, right? Because they absolutely could swing in and tie up some aliens and stuff like this. But the kind of threat that it was over very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Like it started and then it ended.
Yeah. But,
it wasn't this prolonged battle or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. But like I said, though, too, that's what I loved, is that it's super short and just focused on the characters and all that. But yeah, that was fantastic.
No, yeah, it's fun. I love that shit in superhero films, and it just seems like it's become rarer and rarer. But it's like, that's the whole point of them.
It really does feel like there was, in terms of everything that it was doing, it comes across as if somebody was in the room that heard all of our criticisms and was trying to address them. Because I mean, even I was like, wow, they're actually saving people out in the open. They're not just in some abandoned like airport or some shadow realm, and the whole thing's taking place there. It has nothing to do with normal people anymore, because that's also part of the appeal of superhero films. And you know what's interesting is we're on the 10th anniversary of Age of Ultron, but even more to the point now, there was a couple of images that were circulating on Twitter the last 2 weeks of like the visual effects of the first Avengers film, and I'm just like blown away how incredible those effects and how beautiful that movie looks in comparison to the remainder of the Avengers films, even but even more so to like what Marvel films look like today. It's just like, that was 2012.
effort was put in. They had just a handful of movies. It was a lot easier.
The Iron Man. I think Iron Man may have looked the best in the
Iron Man,
Avengers. I just tend to.
yes,
Yeah,
he looks
he's for
incredible.
sure.
You know, they actually put him in a fucking suit. God, I already know Robert Downey Jr. isn't even gonna fucking wear the Doctor Doom. It's gonna be CG bullshit. And then, and that's another thing. Doom always wears the mask, but the whole point of actors being in these things is they have to show their face, so he's gonna take it off. Oh my god, I'm just pissing myself off. No, but there was another point I wanted to make. And the whole ending with them being the new Avengers. I think if I had seen that beforehand, I'd be like, oh, fuck you. Like, I hate that shit. I don't
give me a fucking break here.
Like, yeah, give me a fucking break. But the way it plays out in the film, I think is great. Yeah. Because it is this last ditch effort from Valentina to like save her ass. Everyone kind of understands that these guys aren't up to snuff to be Avengers,
including themselves.
Yeah, including themselves. But they're also it's something that they really desperately want, and they want to prove themselves. And it fits so well because you get into the credits and all those like news clippings of like who the fuck are these people?
Yeah.
more like B-Vengers. And it's like, okay,
end credits in a while. The design of those were like, wow, that was really good.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, if you're taking this angle, it works great, right? Where it's like they have all the money and the government like backing, and they're being propped up as the new Avengers, but they're not really taking that seriously. And then there's this
beef with Sam Wilson not letting them use the name too.
Yeah. Red Guardian, like, he's litigious a man, but don't worry, I'm smart.
that with the Z, the Avengers with the Z.
Yeah, the Avengers with the Z. And they're like squabbling, and then Elena's like, "This is why we're the Avengers with the Z," you know.
Can we take a moment to just appreciate Yelena in this movie? I feel like her character finally just like arrived, and I think there's a lot to say.
I told you, I feel so vindicated with this film for like every little criticism that I've made, because it's so simple to just do it right enough to where it's like, okay, I love it. I'm cool. I'm in. Cause she's great. She's great in this film. They gave her a better film than they ever gave anything to, what's
Natasha.
her name? Natasha. It's insane. Because I always felt like, man, they really shortchanged Natasha's character. I feel like they gave her nothing for all the movies that she was in for all that time.
They didn't give her anything because they weren't even trying to give her anything.
There was no attempt to
toward the
her.
end. It was like, oh, the finale is here, and we did nothing with her. We should probably try and retroactively do something, and it didn't work out that way either way. I feel like if they had really fleshed out Natasha and given her a movie during Phase 1, I don't think she would have gotten the ending she got during Endgame. They wouldn't probably do that.
I don't think they would
at all. So that's really interesting. But I feel like with Yelena, it's like, yes, this is Thunderbolts, New Avengers, and it works as that. But really, this is kind of a Yelena movie. Like, this is like, she's front and center. Like, I think she's the main character here for the most part. And I have to tell you, from that standpoint, I kind of loved it. Like, and she's was
great.
Serving. Like, I mean, she's great with the action.
She's a movie star.
Yeah. That's what it is.
She's got it. Where it's like every time she's on screen.
ScarJo isn't, by the way. ScarJo has a different like.
She's got a different appeal, but I think, I think she has it a little bit more than ScarJo. Like.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah.
Well, you know what? I guess in the traditional sense, that is correct. I guess I meant to say that ScarJo has an impressive resume of films.
Oh, no, for sure she does.
Yeah,
but I'm talking more of like that it factor. That an actor.
You're all right. Yeah,
can bring.
No, I get why this was like a Black Widow movie, basically, because Florence Pugh is a movie star, and she's definitely gaining popularity from the general audience and all that. That's also kind of my biggest complaint about this.
Oh,
movie.
here we go. Another Moreno doesn't support women.
No, it's not that.
Let's hear it.
It's just, for one thing, character wise, she's too new, and I would have liked it for Bucky.
Too new. Oh, for Bucky?
Compared
I think
to
Bucky's
Bucky,
just never gonna have his own thing. But I'm cool with that. He's an A level.
What do you mean she's too new? You think that she was too new to lead the movie, and you would have because you wanted Bucky to be the lead of the team, basically?
Yeah,
right?
basically. Well, I mean, for one thing, all of the characters could have been brought up more. They could have been utilized more for this entire movie. But Buckley for sure, because it's just kind of sucks that he's being so sidelines more and more and everything, and you have people like on the internet being like, why wasn't he Captain America and all that blah blah blah, which I mean I hate that idea, but you just have this character right there that you can use so much more, and they're just not using him at all, and that's kind of annoying me.
Peter, do you feel like they could have used Bucky more in this movie?
I feel like
with what they had.
I feel like they used him perfectly. I'm okay with Bucky being eternally a level S tier supporting character. I'm okay with that. Because I think he's great every time, and I think his story.
Because ultimately, what else are you going to do with that character?
Like I said earlier, what I like about him is he comes in. He's kind of already been through. He's already gone through his character arc, right? Like he's come back from some dark places.
I mean, there's Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That was pretty good, wasn't it?
He's pretty much the co-lead, yeah. He's gone through. That story has already kind of been told, and I like how he kind of comes in, and he's like this thing. He finds these group of misfits with really shitty, fucked up pasts, and he's like, "Hey, I've been there too. I'm out the other end." He's a what do you call it? A congressman. He's kind of made peace with his demons, and he's in a good place, And I liked that. I like that for him. So he's never gonna have like a massive character arc, but he can come in and do some amazing supporting characters stuff. I don't know. I feel like he was in a large chunk in this movie. He has such a badass entrance too.
That was also a moment where I was like, wow, that was a set piece that actually hit. And I could feel the people around me was like, action. Whoa, they felt something. Something that was action related, connected to audiences in a Marvel film. That's a Marvel. Seriously.
Well, you could tell that was actually him on an actual bike. Those were actual cars out in an actual desert. One got actually flipped. 2 cars got actually flipped. I don't know. I definitely understand where David's coming from. We're just wanting him to sort of get his due, come in and like be a main character. And Sebastian Stan is more than enough of an actor to carry a whole
That's what
film
it is,
solely
clearly.
on his own.
I feel like I don't know how long the movie is, and I'm not necessarily saying that I would have liked for it to have been longer, because I think the pace and its length are actually one of its really good strengths.
It's good. Honestly, it's really well paced.
But that isn't to say that I do feel myself feeling that there could have been maybe a couple more scenes with him, asserting a place on the team. Not that they didn't do that already in terms of what they needed to do. I guess I have to see it again to see how I feel about it, but I do feel like I'm kind of like not sure one way or the other just yet, because I do think maybe there was an expectation that he would be the natural leader for this team because he'd been around the longest, but at the same time, everything you said, Peter, yeah, that's true. And there are other characters, namely Yelena, that just haven't had that yet, especially in a good movie. And this was he kind of comes off like the leader to me.
insofar.
Well, because he's the most experienced, right?
Yeah, he knows what the fuck he's doing, basically. Whereas
Well,
like
David,
Yelena,
who do you feel comes off as the leader?
I don't think there is a leader in that team just yet, but Yelena was the main character, though. That's the thing.
Yelena was the main character. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's my thing.
And
like, you were saying that like his character arc is kind of done. From what I saw in Falcon and Winter Soldier, it just felt like his ending was sort of the beginning of where Captain America or Steve Rogers was at the end of the Avengers, where like
you know what I would give him?
Hmm.
Well, no, because I think he's more than acclimated to modern life.
But so was Steve at that. Well, I mean, maybe not that long, but he was still
not
pretty.
At the end of the first Avengers.
I don't know. I think he was pretty acclimated, but he also had that acceptance of he needs to move on, and for Bucky, that needed to happen like a lot longer because of all the stuff that he did in his past and everything. And so to me, there was just this kind of like thought in his mind. I think he was trying to figure out, okay, what do I do next? Okay, because like yes, he sort of forgiven himself of what he did in his past. He's moving on from that, but what do I do next? And so yeah, he had the congressman stuff on in this movie, but that wasn't really much going on there. And this so bothers me from the Captain America movie now when they added that line that he was becoming congressman, and I'm like, you reshot it just so if we watch that it makes sense for Thunderbolts, which you didn't need to do that at all. Like we could have just he could have just shown up. It's just Bucky, and then move on.
But that was also the best scene in that movie. Because they do have great chemistry, those two.
No, yeah, for sure. But you didn't need to bring up that information that he was becoming congressman. Like that was just unnecessary.
Yeah. You know what I would give him? I would give him a romance. I think they should.
Yeah, I guess so.
But Steve's dead.
There's not enough romance. Shut the fuck up. There's not enough. I don't think there's enough romance in these Marvel films.
For sure.
And I think he's a prime real estate, I would say.
No, yeah.
When was the last romance there was in these movies?
Eternals?
Like genuine. Like, think about it. Genuine Eternals. Yeah.
Oh, wait, maybe No Way Home.
They've been banished to the other side of the universe. No Way Home? No. There's no romance in that film.
And No Way Home?
No Way Home. No.
Well, I think I know what
they're
you mean by
together,
romance.
but there's no like.
Mm-hmm. There's nothing
no
there.
There's
compared to like Tony and Pepper, like.
Yeah, there's some heat.
I mean, there's WandaVision that was.
WandaVision, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would say WandaVision,
yeah.
But that's like a classic relationship stuff. Yeah, just more of that kind of stuff. I think I can see that sort of being.
Can I say? I know that a few weeks ago we were referencing that trailer that came out that was like showing off all these different departments from different films. Like I think what is now
that were in A24, yeah,
the A24 one. And just to be clear, what they had because this was actually pretty funny. From the stars of Midsommar, A Different Man, and You Hurt My Feelings, writer and directors of Beef, cinematographer of The Green Knight, production designer of Hereditary, editor of Minati, composers of Everything Everywhere All at Once, comes Thunderbolts, and Zoe Rose Bryant was saying that in hindsight they were real as fuck for flexing this. Actually, apparently Jake Schreier, who is the director, was like, apparently he and his assistant edited this as a joke. And
they probably did, and I'm sure.
And Feige thought it was a great idea. They didn't even think it would be taken seriously, and they just went with it, and they treated it as real. That's actually pretty funny.
It's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think what you can see is they got Jake Schreier, and then he brought over. I'm assuming he brought over all those people.
Yes, I think that's what happened. Because why would
Like the writer.
Because you
Not only
think
did they
it would
write
be
for
nice
Beef,
to work with
they wrote for
talented
BoJack
people.
Horseman. Yeah, all those. Yeah,
Oh,
all those talented people.
Wow. Do you see what happens when you
Just
hire talent?
hire competent people, hire talented people, and your movie might not be shit. It's possible, I promise you. No, but that's the thing, right? And it shouldn't be this hard to just be like, just.
But
hire...
I mean, like, people that are actually talented and not the clear hacks like Colin Trevorrow or J.J. Abrams or like the people who had like a huge box office hit and now you're the next golden person, and it turns out that it was a freaking disaster.
Like
speaking of Fantastic Four, right? Fan Four Stick, Josh Trank. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
He was supposed to have a Star Wars movie, right? Wasn't he supposed to direct a bounty hunter movie?
Yeah, he was supposed
Is
to
that
do
what
a bounty
happened?
hunter movie. That was one of the first things. But that's you can tell. Well, look who's getting the next Star Wars movie. Fucking what's his name?
Sean Levy.
John Levy. Why? Because he got a big hit. Look who originally. Like we can go down the list. Like this is one of the. Again, we're not ones to shit on Kathleen Kennedy, but one of the worst things she does is immediately just look at whatever director.
I think that's the single worst thing she does.
It's the worst thing
at
she
this
does.
point. And
she
if
looks
she
whoever
were to
has
leave,
the biggest box office hit, and then
Because
just gives them a movie.
That's the biggest flaw ultimately, is that she just picks people out of a hat who've had box office hits recently. Actually, not out of a hat, but recent box office, hitters. And then ultimately, half of the time, 90% of the time, they can't get a movie made.
Like fucking Colin Trevorrow to do episode 9, and it's like, yeah, I saw his episode 9. It was called Jurassic World 3. It fucking sucked. Yeah, that's easily her worst tendency. Like,
didn't that make you really wonder though when we watched the Jurassic World, the third movie in his trilogy? Yeah. So on the one hand we have Jurassic World Dominion, on the other hand we have Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker. It didn't make a difference, did it? It would have been shit no matter what.
It would have been shit. Yeah, no, it would have been a shit film.
The only way it would not have been shit, and we talked about this, is in one of the multiverses, Rian Johnson did 9.
Yeah, if he had agreed to taking 9 and then just done it, you probably would have had like such a positively viewed sequel trilogy. It would be insane. But alas, we do not live in that timeline. That's the timeline where Bernie won.
If anything, I feel, right? That I feel like that's the main reason she needs to just go. But then at the same time, if she goes, who the fuck's gonna replace her?
She's gonna be replaced by Jon Favreau and fucking Dave Filoni, and it's just, yeah.
You don't even need words.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear how I feel about just almost everything he's made post Clone Wars. I mean, maybe you would get more animated stuff, which would be cool. But it would just all be lore stuff. I just would not be into it. But yeah, just when it comes to Marvel, I think the clearest example of that is the Daredevil. I don't know what it was with Kevin Feige. He was just hiring complete unknowns with like the worst resumes to do this shit. Like for the Daredevil Born Again, who was it that he got originally? The showrunners? They had like one credit and it was god awful.
It was a USA cable show from 2010.
Yeah. And it's like, why did you pick these people? And then when like you got the dailies back and realized the show was shit, it's like, why are you surprised, right? And then, of course, they had to hire the creatives from that previously worked on the Netflix shows. Not specifically like season 1, but had worked in, I think, Punisher and then other ones. And then from what I hear, the best episodes are the ones where the new creative team came in and worked on them. And I guess now they're doing season 2. It's so simple, Kevin Feige. Hire talented people. It's a one fixed trick.
It'll do wonders for you. it may even actually result in a good movie.
But yeah, Thunderbolts. Check it out.
Yeah, seriously. Anything else to say?
No?
No.
Well, I guess this means that we have, now we may expect and maybe get a little bit excited for Fantastic Four? Maybe?
I think from what I've seen, they have same thing. They have pretty talented people working on it, you know? And I haven't heard any, like, monstrous things going on behind the scenes where it's like, fuck. It's, you know, we had to do rewrites every morning because the script wasn't done. And, we have to do these massive reshoots because we realized what we were shooting wasn't great. So we had to do these rewrites and then reshoot half the film. Or like, I haven't heard anything like that for this film. It seems like once they settled on the director and they had the script.
And you guys have liked the trailers?
Yeah, I've enjoyed them.
Yeah, the trailers are fine.
I like the Silver Surfer. Looks pretty cool. I'm not crazy about the cast. I love Pedro Pascal. He just doesn't come off as like Mr. Fantastic to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm honestly not crazy about Joseph Quinn either. The cast as a whole
Even though
isn't.
Joseph Quinn is usually pretty great in everything, though.
Yeah.
He was really great in Gladiator.
Oh yeah, he was. I was like, in Gladiator. It took me a second. I was like, oh yeah.
A Quiet Place.
Yeah, Gladiator too. And he was
That's
sensational in Stranger Things, which you still haven't even seen, have you?
No, I haven't seen. But he just doesn't come off like Johnny Storm to me at all. But I mean, that can change. Visually, it doesn't. It looks pretty good. Not anything blowing me out of the water, but it doesn't look ugly. You know, to me, it's like, okay. I like the 60s aesthetic. It looks pretty cool. The only thing is, I don't know why they didn't go 60s with Sue's hair. Like, they don't want to use all that hairspray.
You know
or
what?
something.
I guess we do have reason to discuss this now because it actually does mean something. Did we have thoughts that we wanted to share about the post-credit scene?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I forgot to bring that up. But wow, we have a post-credit scene.
Think? Oh, a post-credit scene that isn't shit.
No, that actually is related to the next movie coming out.
Yes,
that was my first
It's
thought.
so simple.
Mm-hmm.
It's something we've talked about forever too, where it's like, stop hinting towards things that are never going to happen. There's like 5,000 teasers out there that are never going to be fulfilled. They're never going to go anywhere.
Remember when Brett Goldstein's going to come back in a Thor 5?
Yeah, he's going to come with Thor 5 as fucking...
Or Harry Styles is going to lead in a Turtles 2?
Harry Styles, the Turtles. He's Thanos' brother. Sure, okay.
Or I guess Mahershala Ali has been in the MCU as a voice of Blade when he meets up with Kit Harington.
I completely forgot Kit Harington was supposed to be the Black Knight. Even when I talk about Midnight Suns, I never bring up that character, the Black Knight, because I forgot.
Right.
It was
or
even a
Monica
thing.
Rambeau meeting Beast, played by Kelsey Grammer.
Apparently, that is actually going to come to fruition in and what do you call it? In the Avengers.
It would need to, right? Because why do it there? But it still felt like, even now, I'm like, okay. Or even that Shang-Chi one where he's like with Carol Danvers and the Hulk, and they're like the 10 rings across the galaxy. There's like a message coming from the
There
other
was a
side
message
of the
from the
universe.
rings.
Yeah.
That from the others that he needs to go find the rings. Again, I think that was going to be King. That was a setup for Kang Dynasty.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it was supposed to he was supposed to kind of be the main character for like this next Avengers team. And like that was going to have to do something with like Kang, basically. That was going to be Kang Dynasty, I'm pretty sure. And then that would have led into Secret Wars, which not no more.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, and then of course the whole incursion thing at the end of Doctor Strange.
Oh, or what's her name? Fucking remember they introduced
Charlize Theron.
Charlize Theron. Why would you do all these things, you idiots? All right, whatever. But no, yeah, it's a really good credit scene. Because one, it directly leads into the next thing and hints at the next film, while also looking at the bigger picture. Plus, it's some great character stuff. I loved all the interaction with like them as the Avengers now, and their whole, again, his whole thing of like Avengers with a Z. You have an understanding of where these characters are right now with Bob. Bob's just chilling with them. It's cool. It's neat. I like it. Also, there's a lot of speculation of like, do the Fantastic Four fail? Does what's his name destroy their world? I could see them possibly, perhaps, maybe pull in like a Thor Ragnarok, where that ship is kind of like basically Noah's Ark for that Earth.
I was just thinking of Crisis on Infinite Earths, where Superman and Lois had to give up their baby because their universe was about to get destroyed.
Yeah,
that was exactly what I was thinking. Where it's gonna be Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Girl or Invisible Woman having to send their baby away to a different universe because.
Oh, maybe. Oh, you think it's just the baby?
That could be cool, especially
that
because
could be interesting.
Their baby in the comics is like super mega powerful.
Yeah, he's the most powerful being that has ever existed, basically.
So, I actually really want that now. That would be really cool, but it'll be way too direct to Crisis on Infinite Earths.
It's actually funny, because his whole power is just like reality altering powers. There's like a what do you call it? A sort of a meta fan theory that the reason why decades pass of these characters, but the characters don't age or change, is because all these characters remain as they are when he, as a child saw them. Like the reason why Peter Parker is forever like 27 is because that's his uncle, and he's sort of like altering reality for nothing to ever change, kind of thing. It's a funny fan theory with that, but yeah, I don't think it's not real. But
but that's cool.
That would be interesting. That would definitely be interesting. But yeah, I guess that does bring in some tension for the third act of Fantastic Four of like, fuck, will they actually be able to save their world? Because if they don't, fuck, I think that's just way too depressing of an ending.
Well, I mean, Infinity War
for Marvel.
Infinity War had a pretty,
but that's different. Ending. Like these guys, this is fantastic. This is like Fantastic Four's movie. I just think it's different. I don't know if they'll be willing. Kudos to them if they're willing to go that depressing. I don't think Marvel will. I think that's too much. If anything, they will pull like a Noah's Ark. If their Earth does get annihilated, they'll pull one of those. They'll put all of them on a massive ship.
Also with Thunderbolts, I mean, we may have already touched on this maybe too much, but it genuinely feels like a Marvel film that gave the actors moments to actually, have some range. Like the scene with the Red Guardian and Yelena on the street, kind of like having that moment of like, I needed you. Where were you? All the moments with Bob, especially when it came to that whole like dark situation. And then, of course, but that was an interesting moment because even as that moment with Yelena and with Red Guardian, this is an example of how they were able to commit to like serious emotion, and yet they were able to top it off with a joke that actually really landed when she said, "Okay, that was really good."
Yeah,
as she was really good stuff. And then also, just last thing here, that post-credit scene. People were making a hullabaloo about how it was not Jake Schreier that directed it, but it was the Russos.
Oh, really?
Does that make you feel better or indifferent toward what Doomsday could be like?
I mean,
Eh.
it was a short scene, so there's not really much you can say about like how that's going to show the quality of Doomsday or anything like that. I will say that I would think the one compliment, I guess, is I actually really like their costumes in the after
At
credit
the
scene,
end,
especially with the Winter Soldiers with his hair all grown out. I was like, why does he have like a Wolverine look or something like that?
For who?
yeah.
Winter Soldier.
Oh, I liked it.
Yeah.
I was digging their looks.
Mm-hmm.
That's very clearly how they're gonna look in Avengers. Doomsday. The only positive I would say is it's colorful.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the colors were popping, and I like that. I like my superhero films.
Colors were
To pop.
popping? What?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
do you think they're going to do that for Doomsday? Is it going to be more colorful than...
I would
they had
assume
been?
so. I mean, this was filmed on the set of, and it's very clearly just completely different to the way Thunderbolts looks. So it wasn't done, it's not like it was done in a way to better match the Thunderbolts film. It was done by the people that did it, and then it was put out there. So I would assume that's probably what Endgame is gonna look like.
Yeah.
Not Endgame, sorry. Doomsday.
Yeah.
Same shit.
Same shit. Well, I mean, I feel like we're going to end this podcast feeling very strangely about, like, I guess we can be cautiously optimistic about where the next movie can go. But then again, we do want to make it very clear, things
There's a
still
brick
don't
wall
look...
with Doomsday and Secret Wars. But once we get past those, then... But we don't even know what they got cooking past that.
We don't even know what it'll look like past that,
Yeah.
right? Like, have they had announced movies after?
No, that's what I'm saying. But they're going to have to, right?
Soon.
Like because these movies go into production, they can't wait until Secret Wars is out before announcing the movies that come out afterwards, right?
Isn't
like-
Spider-Man 3 filming right now?
I don't know if it's filming, but it's
They're
Is
writing the
Spider-Man 3
script for
supposed
sure.
to be in between Avengers 5 and 6?
I think it's supposed to be, yeah.
Okay.
They're in production. I don't think there's any sets built. I think they're pretty big into the scripting phase.
Because I for sure read that like Tom Holland was talking about the script and all that already. So
Yeah.
as to when it's gonna come out, I don't know. But I think for sure they're gonna announce something after Doomsday at the very least because they want to know what the box stuff is gonna be like for that one.
Well,
I think that's just
remember when Endgame was out, we were getting trailers for Spider-Man.
I'm sorry, did I say Spider-Man 3? I meant Spider-Man 4. Sorry.
Yeah, it's technically
Yeah,
Spider-Man 3. But we were getting trailers for No Way Home or Far From Home when Endgame was in theaters, right? So
Yeah.
they're gonna have to announce these films basically.
Announce
because
it,
they're gonna be in production.
announce it,
That they're-
sure, but I don't think they're gonna do anything until after Doomsday because, like I said,
Do you
they're
remember, were they showing Far From Home trailers before Endgame even
Yes.
came out?
yeah,
Before they came out, well, yeah, they would have had to.
Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
mistake to do that. That was like... Because of like, well...
They just didn't include the fact that Tony Stark was dead.
yeah. Oh yeah,
They
and
deceptive.
I-
They didn't include that.
I remember too because people were kind of like, "Oh, he's on a field trip in this movie. Does this?" Because people were already theorizing, like, "Wait, does this take place like right before Infinity War or something like that?" Do you remember? Because
Yeah,
he was on a school bus in Infinity War, and they were thinking that he was just coming back from his field trip.
Oh, like he's coming back from the field trip.
yeah, that's what people were theorizing.
Mhm.
So yeah, it must have come out after Infinity War, but before Endgame.
Didn't make a difference. That movie was not very good.
No,
So,
it was fucking lame. But yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see the first films announced for like a post Secret War. I think for sure it's like, for sure they'll announce shit that's obvious, like it'll be like Fantastic Four 2,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a Thor 5. Maybe. But I'm more interested in what are those original films going to be, right? Is it just going to be X-Men? Or are they going to go...
Shang-Chi 2
for like...
or
more like...
2.
Thunderbolts. There's not even a Thunderbolts 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they'll announce another Avengers for a very long time. That's what I'm saying. It's going to be really interesting to see what those Blade. I don't know, Blade anyone?
Oh my god.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
All right, we're going to go ahead and end it off there. Thank you, both of you, for being on here. Thank you, everybody who listened to the show. Catch us back next time. We got plenty of movies. The summer season is just about here. We think a Mission Impossible might be coming out, and that's something definitely to look forward to. So come back here, and then also stay tuned for our Andor reactions, because they're about to really hit critical mass from where I'm hearing things are going to go. So as always, stay tuned for more Under Our Red Spotlight. We will see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.